When you think about the single biggest challenge that every hotel manager faces the moment they walk through the door, it's probably not what you'd guess. It isn't guest complaints or even staffing. It's time. More specifically, it's the fact that their most valuable asset is literally expiring with every single minute that ticks by. Today, we're going to dive right into the foundations of hospitality revenue management to solve that exact problem.
Hello and welcome! I'm a hotel AI expert, and I've spent years working in modern hospitality operations and performance support. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome all of you, the students of Europe Hotel School, to your online learning journey. We're really looking forward to supporting your professional growth in this incredible industry. So let's get started.
Okay, to truly master revenue management, we have to start with the core challenge, the one thing that every hotelier faces every single day. It's a problem that's completely unique to our industry, and I call it the hotelier's dilemma.
And that whole dilemma, it really centers on this one critical question. I want you to really think about this for a second. What makes a hotel room so fundamentally different from, say, a car, or a phone, or a pair of jeans? Well, the answer is all in its fleeting, unrecoverable nature. This is what we call perishable inventory, and it's simple, really. If room 305 isn't sold tonight, you can't just box up that unsold night and sell 2 of them tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way. The revenue opportunity for that specific room on that specific night just vanishes into thin air. It's lost forever. And that is what makes the stakes in our business so incredibly high.
So we've established we're dealing with a high-stakes, perishable product. Now, to manage it, you have to understand 2 major forces. The first one, and honestly the most unpredictable, is the guest. So let's take a look at how we can start to decode the patterns of guest demand. In hospitality, demand isn't just some vague feeling of, oh, people want to visit. It's actually defined by 2 very specific things: a guest's willingness to book and their ability to pay. For example, someone might be very willing to stay in the presidential suite, but if they don't have the ability to pay the rate, they aren't actually part of the demand for that room. You absolutely need both. Now, what's so interesting here is how this chart shows that demand isn't one giant wave. It's more like a series of different currents. Look at this peak for business travelers during the week. That's driven entirely by corporate needs, right? But then that current pulls back, and a completely different one for leisure travelers swells up over the weekend. The best hoteliers, they don't just ride the wave, they learn to understand all the individual currents. So what causes these currents to shift and change? Well, it's a mix of all these key drivers. You've got the obvious ones, like seasonality. Think summer vacation versus a cold January. But sometimes it's a surprise. A TV show filming nearby could create a sudden spike, or maybe a new airline route opens up a completely new market. The goal is always to anticipate these shifts, not just react when the lobby is suddenly empty or overflowing. So on one side, we've got this dynamic, constantly fluctuating force of demand. Now let's pivot to the other side of the equation, which is its polar opposite, the rigid, almost unchangeable reality of our supply. Unlike demand, which can change in an instant, a hotel's supply is pretty much fixed. If your hotel has 200 rooms, you have exactly 200 rooms to sell tonight. No more, no less. You can't just, build a new wing when a big conference comes to town. In the short term, your inventory is locked in. And this slide illustrates perfectly why our industry is so unique. A car manufacturer, for instance, they can just store unsold cars in a massive lot and wait for demand to pick up. They can ramp up the assembly line if a model gets popular. We can't do that. Our product is fixed, it expires every 24 hours, and it cannot be stored. That one fundamental difference changes everything about our strategy. Okay, so we've got this wildly fluctuating demand crashing up against a solid wall of fixed supply. So how do we manage this constant tension? We use our single most powerful tool, pricing. And we have to learn to use it not just as a number, but as a strategy. I want you to think of pricing as the active lever you pull to balance these 2 powerful forces. When demand is high and rooms are scarce, your pricing should be maximizing the value of every single room key. And when demand is low, your pricing has to be calibrated to stimulate interest and capture whatever business is out there. It really is the strategic bridge that connects what the market wants with what you have. And this brings us right to the very heart of revenue management, and it's all summarized in this one classic phrase. See, this isn't just about filling rooms. That's just occupancy. This is about optimizing for profitability. It is far better to sell 90 rooms at a high, profitable rate than it is to sell 100 rooms at a deep discount that barely covers the cost of cleaning them. Of course, you're never making these decisions in a vacuum. Your pricing is always shaped by these external factors. What are your direct competitors charging tonight? How is your hotel positioned in the market? Are you the luxury leader, or are you the smart budget choice? Your brand's perception gives you permission to price a certain way. All of this is absolutely critical market intelligence.
All right, let's pull all of these concepts together. Let's build an actionable framework. This is about turning these ideas into a disciplined practice that's going to drive real-world results for you.
The formula for success here is really a blend of two key elements. First, you need the market intelligence, the data, to truly understand what's happening. But you also need the strategic discipline to stick to your plan and not make those reactive, emotional pricing decisions when things get a little quiet. It's the perfect combination of art and science.
So this all boils down to a simple yet incredibly powerful three-step process. First, you constantly analyze all those demand drivers we talked about. Second, you always respect the reality of your fixed, perishable supply. And then third, with all that knowledge, you deploy your pricing as the strategic bridge between the two. Analyze, respect, and deploy.
So we've covered the core dilemma, the forces of demand and supply, and the strategic role that pricing plays. The building blocks are now in place, which means the final question isn't for me, it's for you. As you move forward in your career, how will you take these fundamentals and apply them not just to compete, but to truly lead the market?